Hey, SVGers, welcome back for another edition of the SVG News Sponsor Spotlight. Brandon Costa from Sports Video Group. Thrilled to be here with you to introduce you to Ryval Studios, a top-of-the-line production house that's been doing some killer, not just sports, but a lot of tremendous content across the country for some really, really interesting clients. We're pleased to have them aboard the SVG family, and we're pleased to be joined today by John Morgan, who's their founder and executive producer. John, thanks so much for taking the time. Great to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to being a part of the SVG community and getting more involved in all that this opportunity will come with.
Yeah, you guys create some really killer stuff, and we'll get into some of them, some of the specifics. But if you could give us a little bit of a brief overview of Ryval Studios, what you guys do, where you guys are based, what should the community know about you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Based out of St. Louis, so we're smack dab right in the middle of the country. Makes us very centrally, located, accessible nationwide. And so we are a full service, commercial production house. And so we do a lot of different types of content, sports and non-sports related. But the last several years has been really focused on the sports market. We do some work on the college level and are starting to get more into the professional sports arena as well, helping teams with their outsourced content needs. And so that's what led us to SVG, is just kind of getting more in the industry and seeing how we can get more involved.
Sure. And if could gush a little bit, definitely a fan of some of the content that you guys have created. You worked with the St. Louis Blues of the NHL there in your town of St. Louis. I really personally loved the stuff that you guys did with the Carolina Hurricanes. That Generation Caniac video was
Yeah,
super, super
thank
dope.
you.
What's it like working with team specific clients like that? And how is it maybe different from some of the other client bases that you work with? I know those are two specific examples in terms of the Blues and the Canes that are both very dialed into their own communities. But how are those projects unique compared to maybe some of the other things that Ryval Studios does?
Yeah, that's a good question. Of course, every client's different, and so we really try to focus on what their unique needs and goals are, and making sure that the content that we are producing is going to be ultimately in line with that. And so I think that's something that helps us, be a little bit unique in from the standpoint of we're really laser focused on making sure that the creative and the direction of whatever the piece is really going to help them accomplish those goals. And so you mentioned the Hurricanes. We got to do two projects with them last year: their open video and then the 25th anniversary video. And so that was really neat because I felt like the 25th anniversary video was a really great example of like how storytelling can still be relevant in sports. It doesn't have to all just be about the hype and the glitz and the
Mhm.
glam and all of that with traditional open videos and intro videos and that type of thing. And so we really enjoyed that opportunity to get to tell a really heartfelt, heartwarming story about a young Canes fan growing up. And so that was definitely a unique opportunity to you kind of get to flex those storytelling muscles in a different way, certainly compared to some of our other projects and other clients. So it's always a unique challenge and how we approach something, but we really enjoy the sports market because there's such a diversity of
Mhm.
opportunity. When it comes to creative, whether we're doing more of the glitz and the glam and the cool open videos, or if it's more of the heartfelt, storytelling, or somewhere in between, there's always it's always a unique challenge.
Yeah, loved how you guys kind of flipped that anniversary concept, and instead of doing the, here's all the legendary players, like making the fan who's been there for the whole ride, kind of the main focal point. Super cool. You
Right.
guys, we talk about this big content and storytelling machine. There's so much going on the collegiate athletics side too, and you guys have some college clients that you've worked with as well. Maybe what are some of the success stories you've had on that end?
Yeah, that's how we started out, was on the college level. Our first sports team we got to work with was Illinois football. They're kind of in our
Mhm.
backyard, not too far away. So we worked with them. 2019, we worked with the recruiting department doing some like a hype video and some other content that they use throughout the recruiting process. And so at the time, they wanted to work with us because they had very limited in-house resources and just couldn't get the content that they needed. And so we were able to help, kind of fill some of those voids for them. And then last fall, we got to work with St. Louis University, their men's and women's basketball teams, doing their intro videos for in arena, uh, for the games. And so again, kind of similar need in terms of their resources in house just weren't capable of producing that level of quality and didn't have those capabilities. And so that's really how we come alongside these programs, just to help figure out where are the gaps, and where are those needs, because just about every program is trying to build the in-house model, to some degree with their creative and media production. But no matter how big that team is, there's likely still gaps somewhere. Whether you're working with a super small 1 or maybe 2 person in-house team, or it can go upwards of 10 plus people. That's really what we found in the college level, is that no matter what size they have or they are working with, there's still some of those gaps. But it's just a very different market than the professional market in terms of demand and expectations for quality and that type of thing. So, we're certainly finding some of those opportunities at the college market, but it's just a little bit different in terms of kind of what those gaps and what those needs are, and how we can best, provide value for those, compared to the professional market, where there's a little bit more of a demand for higher end production quality, and there's a little bit more of a understanding that they likely are going to be working with outside people more so, compared to the college level, where I feel like tide is slowly turning,
Mhm.
at the college level, where they're learning the hard way that, okay, maybe we can't do everything in house, and so maybe
Right,
we
right.
do need some help, because like you're saying, that content machine is just churning every day, no matter who you are. And so it's just becoming such a pivotal tool for college programs, because of how the college scene is just completely exploding, on the recruiting landscape with NIL.
Mhm.
There's just so many more, facets to the college landscape as it relates to creative media and the need for that, where they're just having a harder and harder time keeping up with the output.
No, when it comes to like creative video and storytelling like this, like you're saying, like no matter how talented or robust of a team you have, that bar is just constantly being raised around you. It's like you see another school in your conference or another team in your league do something, and your
Exactly.
boss goes, "I want that," and you go, "Well, we might not be capable of that." So, real quickly, one last question before we let you go. What's that kind of initial conversation for you like, or what piece of advice would you have for someone who's watching this who maybe works at a professional sports team or a collegiate athletic department that has, as you said, built up this own internal department, and in their mind is theoretically supposed to be able to do this themselves, and then goes, maybe we need someone who knows what they're doing to help us out with this stuff. What's that kind of initial conversation or your piece of advice for someone who's maybe thinking about, okay, maybe I need to bring in some outside help here if I really want to make a splash?
That's a good question, but a tough one to answer in a succinct way, because there's so many different directions to go with those conversations.
Sure.
I think kind of an easy first answer to that question would be, the teams just need to be realistic on what they can do and what they can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like that's what either sets them up for success or failure, is if they're not realistic with what they can actually do, whether that be from a budget standpoint or just the internal resources standpoint. And so I say, focus on what you can do really well and do that really well. And then bring in some help for some of the other areas that maybe you don't do really well or you just can't get to. Because I know a lot of the teams are facing, again, relatively small in-house, resources and in-house teams, but they, especially at, like, for example, the college level, some of these 1, 2, 3 person teams are trying to cover, create content for up to 19 plus sports.
Right.
Like, that's just not feasible, that those 3 people can then also do the high-end intro videos for football and basketball, while they're also trying to churn out all the social content for, men's and women's hockey and golf and softball. So it's just kind of figuring out, all right, what do we have, what are we best at, what are we capable of doing, do that really well, where can we bring in some outside help to kind of help with some of these bigger impact projects, There's what I call it as kind of the bigger impact where,
Mhm.
like the intro videos, the open videos, like those are generally the biggest impact pieces a team is going to produce over the season. And so if you have to spend your resources, financially when it comes to budgets, I generally recommend, well, why don't you allocate more of those resources towards your biggest impact content more than your lower impact content, which is your just regular social content and just kind of the churn and burn type of stuff that you have to get out there to keep the brand afloat. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, yeah. No, no, that's a fascinating point, and appreciate you sharing it. All right, well, appreciate you stopping by. He is John Morgan. They are Ryval Studios. You can learn more about them and see some of their fantastic work at their website, Ryval Studios. That's RYVAL Studios.com. John, we're so happy to have you aboard. Look forward to working with you more, and thanks a lot for taking the time today.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Brandon, and hopefully look forward to meeting some people at the college summit coming up.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun. All right, for more SVG news sponsor spotlights and everything going on here at Sports Video Group, head on over to our website at sportsvideo.org.